I am Magnus, and I will be sharing short stories about comics and art. Today is the birthday of another legend that has left us. Ernie Colón had a long career that, among other things, also included some issues of Gold Key's Dr. Solar and some issues of Valiant's Magnus Robot Fighter. On this episode of Magnus Collects Magnus, I will show you art that Ernie did for Magnus at Valiant. Welcome. Ernie did pencils for some early Valiant issues and inks for others. Here's pages from Magnus 9, penciled by Ernie and inked by Catherine Bollinger and Ted Halstead. Just as with most early Valiant issues, you will see glued-on panels and speech bubbles where the glue has turned brown. Sometimes part of a panel was replaced for aesthetic reasons, and sometimes the whole panel was reduced in size in order to make room for speech bubbles. Also, many early pages have even lost their glued-on material, sometimes leaving glue stains. Among Valiant collectors, that is considered normal. Another thing that makes early Valiant art special is that the artists were paid by the time they spent and not the number of pages, so they had no incentive to skip details. I don't know if that was still the case when this issue was drawn, but either way, Ernie was known for putting extra detail into his work. Often the story was also allowed to use more than the standard 21 pages. This issue, for instance, has 24 pages. Another change that directly affects collectors is that nowadays typically pencils and inks are not drawn on the same board, if the art is physical at all. In the Valiant days, the inks were typically still drawn on top of the pencils, and if the two artists were not in the same place, they had to FedEx the pages between them. While it could happen in the old days also that the inker drew on a separate board, the general rule up until recently has been that there is only one artboard available for each page. Ernie also produced several issues of Magnus Robot Fighter for Valiant, where he applied the colors directly on the artboard. As stated in the excellent Ernie Colón interview by Kent Worcester from the Comics Journal number 285, he drew Magnus on Canson paper, which was not always white, with pen and ink, then colored it with Prisma pencils and acrylics. This gave a recognizable style that can also be seen in DC's The Medusa chain or in the 9/11 report, a graphic adaptation, though for the latter Ernie used computers to finalize the pages. For paneled pages on those issues, Ernie used the unusual tactic of painting each panel by itself and then pasting them to a board. Early Valiant always printed from the color original anyway, so this followed the same principle, just that these originals were bigger than other color originals. They also always had a separate overlay for the speech bubbles, so that those could be printed in true black. This is true for Ernie's painted pages as well. As we go through the pages, some will be shown raw and some will be shown with the overlay for the speech bubbles. On one page I believe that the method of pasting panels had an odd side effect. Look down to the left on the next page. As Magnus and Rookie the Geomancer enter the central archives, there are two similar panels with an administrator. Looking at the texts, he seems startled when Rookie gives him positive information and happy when Rookie blackmails him. I believe these two panels were switched. Then again, this way the need for space for the speech bubbles in each panel is better accommodated. Ernie grew up watching cinema almost every day, which could have fueled his passion for storytelling. As a kid, he also loved comics and knew early on that he wanted to work with them, and he was a big book reader. During his long career, he was artist, writer, and editor at many companies, most notably at Harvey, where he, among other things, produced tons of Casper and Richie Rich comics. He is said to have made around 15,000 pages for Harvey. As artist, he did lettering, penciling, inking, color guides, and painted art. He was also a sculptor, produced early digital motion comic movies, and did storyboarding for multimedia events. He is also co-creator of Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, Arak, Son of Thunder, and Damage Control. Thank you for watching.